Hello everyone, Republic Jim here. I'm just finishing up an overnight camp out on my property. As you can see, it was a little snowy last night. I wanted to just do a real quick first impression of my new sleeping pad. It's the second time I've used it, but the other time was at our SAR field training where it was much warmer conditions. So this was my first time out in cold conditions. Offhand, I don't even remember what the brand of the sleeping pad was. I will find it when I'm back at the house, and I'll include a link to that in the description down below. But it doesn't really matter. There's actually several generic Chinese-made ones that are very similar. And first off, I should point out this is not an insulated sleeping pad. It's not meant for all seasons or anything like that. But for my use, it has worked out pretty well so far. So this here is the inflated pad, and it's hopefully that shows up okay, but it's around 3 to 4 inches thick, but it's all ribbed, and the idea being that the sleeping bag goes, fills in there, and there's air gaps for insulation and such, and it also makes it pretty comfortable. As you can see, this is quite a good size, and that's one of the reasons that I chose this one. There were a few that were very similar but were smaller. This emergency tarp here that it's laying on is a 5x7 tarp, so this thing runs just about the whole length of that, so it's over 6.5 feet long, which is more than enough for my height, but even for somebody that was 6 foot, it would be comfortable. Also, to point out, it has the built-in pillow part up at the top, which I find fairly comfortable. Some people complain about that, but I like it. So the other feature I thought was kind of cool is this thing has a built-in pump, which the idea is you open up this valve here, and there's this pump that you can compress that they say just to step on it and use your foot to inflate it, which would actually work pretty well. If you're doing it inside a low roof shelter like I did last night because it was snowing good, I didn't want to do it outside and get it all covered in snow. Then if you're doing it like that where there's minimum clearance, then I found what works pretty well was just kind of a CPR technique. I just held the valve open, got down here, and just did that and inflated pretty quickly. Of course, you get a little bit of warmth from doing that too, because it definitely does take some effort regardless of what the advertising says. So yeah, overall I found it really comfortable. It's nice and wide, so I wasn't having to worry about sliding off the side or anything. I had it laid over a bit of a raised platform of branches, so that was kind of lumpy, but this helped smooth it out, and the thickness of it, kind of kept me off that for the most part. So overall, I slept really well on it, very comfortable. The big thing to address, of course, is as far as the insulation value. Anybody that is planning on using this directly on the ground, especially on snow, anytime it's winter, if you're putting it right on the ground and then trying to use even a warm sleeping bag, you're liable to get pretty cold, because obviously the cold from the ground comes up there, and this uninsulated bag is not going to do a whole lot, or a sleeping pad, is not going to do a whole lot to keep the cold out. But for my purposes, if I can at all avoid it, I never sleep directly on the ground. I'm always putting down some sort of platform of branches or actually constructing a frame for a raised bed. So for me, that is not a big issue. It just needs to cushion what I'm laying on top of, and then I count on the bag to keep me warm. Or if it's extremely cold and I'm making a fire nearby, then having a raised bed so that the heat can circulate underneath, then the lack of insulation in the pad doesn't matter. So overall for me it works great. It packs down really compact and easy to carry. I have it just on my SAR pack, and I'll carry it with me on any mission we go on, just in case we need to spend the night out. I have confidence in it now that it will work well, and as long as you're not planning on direct ground contact in cold weather, I can highly recommend it for that. And when it's warmer, like when I did the search and rescue field training, it got down to right around freezing overnight, but again, I had my warm bag and I did have the pad on the ground at that point, and I was still comfortable there. It would have to get down well below freezing to get really uncomfortable. So all in all, that's kind of my first impressions. I don't know how durable it is. It does come with a patch kit, and I'll have to use it frequently and see how well it holds up. I might give an update again later, but for now I have good impressions of it, and made for a good night last night, and hopefully many more uses in the future. Hope you found this interesting or informative, or both. This has been Republic Jim. I'll talk to you later.